This is another one of those videos where the title basically tells you what's happening. It is what it seems. The fragrances I've selected for each of these scenarios will work for basically any iteration of each scenario. I've chosen 2 fragrances for all of the categories but one of them in order to consider cooler and warmer weather. I could have selected 1 fragrance for each category, but you don't wear your favorite t-shirt on a cold day. Same thing with fragrances. But all the fragrances can work for day or night. As you can see by this title, this is the inexpensive edition, which in this case I'm defining as fragrances $75 and lower. So this is not necessarily a selection of cheapies. Those can be enjoyable and functional, but I'm making quality for the price a top priority. So I'm not looking to just recommend the absolute cheapest fragrances that you can buy. If you want to see an episode geared more towards high-end fragrances, then make sure you like and comment on this video and subscribe, and I might just do that. Let's dive right into it. So we've got 5 categories. Our first category is the gym. This one once again speaks for itself, and I've only chosen 1 fragrance for this category because you don't need a hot and cool weather fragrance for this. You're going to be inside, most likely. You're going to be warming up, sweating. You're going to be in a climate controlled environment. You're going to be around other people who are not necessarily looking to socialize with you. So I wanted to choose a fragrance that is on the fresher side, that is going to be relatively inoffensive, that's going to be easy to wear, that doesn't smell too serious, and just something that won't be invasive or obtrusive to those around you. It's just going to smell clean and pleasant. And a fragrance I selected for that is Mr. Burberry from Burberry. This is the Eau de Toilette, and to give you the caveat on this one, this is not a very special fragrance, but a gym fragrance doesn't really need to be. Some might even call it kind of a throwaway scent, something you can just spray on a couple times before you run in to basically sweat it off. But this fragrance isn't completely run-of-the-mill. This was perfumed by Francis Kirkjohn, and there's a little bit of thought that goes into it. I find this profile to be kind of distinctive. Kind of. There's something about it that is not exactly like every other blue, fresh, clean fragrance out there. It doesn't just smell like shower gel. It's not just a bunch of spices and woods and a little bit of sweetness and citrus. No, there's a little bit of a personality to it, which I dig, but overall, it's an easy to wear fragrance that smells fresh, smells clean. There's some cardamom, there's some citrus up top. So it is spicy. Yes, it is kind of bright. There's a little bit of mint in there. As it dries, there's this sharpness to it. It's this sharp woodiness. And I think that's really what gives it its personality. There's the distinctive, clean, soapy, sharp, woody quality to the scent as it dries. Overall, you're going to get anywhere from 5 to 8 hours, more than you need for a workout. And once again, as you smell it around you and as others do the same, it's just going to smell clean and offensive. This fragrance and any other fragrance like it will perfectly suit this scenario. So consider my categories more than my recommendations for each category, but if you're looking for an idea, then this is one. Mr. Burberry Eau de Toilette. Now for casual situations, we're talking about the warm weather first, and casual can be whatever you want it to be. Either you're sitting at home lounging around, maybe running errands, maybe just going out hanging out with some friends. You're just not out trying to make your greatest impression visually. You're comfortable with who you are and who you're with, and you just want to smell nice. H24 from Hermes I think is a great way to do that. This is the Eau de Toilette. Once again, a fragrance that is not completely run-of-the-mill. This is not a total throwaway scent. This definitely has personality to it and may not even be for everyone, but I do find it to be a relatively easy scent to understand, to enjoy, and to wear. It is kind of a green metallic fresh fragrance, a little bit of a green citrus brightness to it. It dries down to this woody earthiness that is still very clean, almost this metallic feel to it. It is a fragrance that strikes a balance for me that I personally love, and I don't think is super easy to do in modern perfumery, and that is simplicity with distinction. There's something about it that doesn't smell like everything else out there, but there's not a whole lot going on to comprise what it is, and I love that. Hermes is actually quite good at that. H24 is a perfect casual fragrance, especially for the heat. It's going to be fresh, it's going to be inviting, but it does have a little bit of interest to it, and if you know me, I want a little bit of interest. I don't want to just forget about what I sprayed on. H24 from Hermes. Let's talk about a cool weather casual fragrance. This one you could kind of dress up a little bit, but it totally works casually, no problem. This is coming from the house of Jacques Bogart, and it's Bogart pour Homme, probably the cheapest fragrance in this video. And this is one of those few fragrances that smells way more expensive than you might pay for it. I think you can find this for less than $20. Is that a reason to go run out and get it? Not yet. Wait for me to describe it, and then you tell me in the comments or tell yourself if it makes sense for you to get this fragrance, because you want it to fit your wardrobe. You want it to fit a function. You don't want it to be super redundant. So this fragrance came out in the early 2000s. It kind of smells like it. It does have a little bit of this late 90s flair to it. There is a clean lavender, almost soapy clean, almost laundry fresh, this pretty pervasive sweetness from like a tonka bean or vanilla note, something like that. It's ultimately this beautiful combination that has worked for a long time of freshness and sweetness, and it just works with this clean, kind of sexy, sweet vibe. But overall, I think it can be pretty casual. It's also pretty dang powerful. So once again, if you're one of those people that values performance, then you're going to get more than you pay for here. This is a fragrance that can easily become so annoying. I'm warning you, no more than like 4 or 5 sprays with this. Any more than that, you might be fine. But the poor people around you who probably won't say anything will think you reek. You have been warned. But this stuff is great. It smells so good. Jacques Bogart, Bogart pour Homme. Let's move on to the professional category. This is when, you just want to smell professional. That could be going to work. It could be going to an interview. It could be just meeting with someone for lunch and you just want to have a dressier vibe. This is going to be more for the warm weather. This first fragrance here, it just smells put together. It smells refined, but it's still relatively easy to wear and easy to approach. This is Brioni EDP. Now, this is kind of a revamp of the fragrances they had previously, of which I don't think there were many. They kind of reinstated this collection, this new collection of which they've expanded more and more. And the whole collection is wonderful and worth checking out. Very cohesive distinction between each fragrance, so they're not all redundant. It's really a beautifully done designer fragrance collection. Brioni EDP is all about violet leaf. There is this ozonic, fresh kind of green feel. If you've smelled Dior Fahrenheit, the distinctive quality of that fragrance, you're gonna get it in here right away. So if you don't like Fahrenheit, I can't guarantee you're gonna like this, but I do find this to be a much more approachable scent personality than Dior Fahrenheit. I think if you look at the note breakdown, you may not see violet leaf, but there are ozonic notes listed in several places, and I think violet leaf is a player there. There's also some aldehydes, a little bit of fruitiness from apple. There's quite a bit of violet flower, which is a sweeter floral, a little bit powdery, but not too powdery. It just gives it a soft edge, makes it smell a little bit more classy, a little bit more upscale, honestly. So don't be afraid that it's a floral heart. Primarily, it still smells masculine because it has some nice woods backing it up. So this is beautiful stuff. It's kind of subtle. It's not going to scream like crazy off your skin, but I do find that it lasts a good little while. I get at least 6, 7, maybe even 8 hours out of this. It's an EDP. Don't think it's going to be super noticeable, but you can trust that it will most likely stay on your skin and or your clothes for most of the day, unless you got super dry skin or you're just going nose blind. Those could be culprits if you're not smelling it anymore. But if you've already tried this one, let me know what you think, and let me know if you think it's a great contender for a professional scent in the warmer months. And cooler weather professional, this is a little bit throwback, once again, even a little bit older than the Bogart, but I still think it's perfectly timeless because it is a fougere, and I do find the fougere genre to be a timelessly classic genre. And this is one that I've seen a few of you guys show some love for. Some of you guys may have not tried it, may not care to try it, and that's fine. You can move on. But this is from Ralph Lauren. It is Safari, the original Safari for men. This, I think, came out originally 1992. Once again, kind of smells like it. It smells like a sophisticated gentleman. It smells like a refined man. You don't smell like a boy wearing this stuff. There's a lot going on here. If you look at a note breakdown, you're going to see a lot of notes, but ultimately what it smells like to me is clean barbershop like smells. There is a freshness like citrus. There's a lot of clean soapy lavender, some spices, some herbs, lots of florals in there, a little bit of a sweet creamy feel from like tonka bean or coumarin. There's even a little bit of this ambery leathery feel, and I think that's what kind of makes this fragrance distinctive in the genre. It has this slightly rougher base to it that just makes it more masculine maybe to some people. I think it's amazing stuff. Now, I have a newer formulation. A lot of people say the newer formulations are not as strong as the older ones. Boo-hoo, nothing new. I think that is in this fragrance's favor because in the modern times, this is not a scent profile that most people would want to smell super strongly. Maybe that was normal and that was acceptable, 20, 30, 40 years ago, but you just smell kind of dated when this is really, really strong. So keep that in mind. It matches today's time. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, this might fill the role perfectly because it is a little bit more on the warmer side. That's why I'm putting it in the cool weather, but it could probably work work in the heat too, but not my first choice on a hot summer day. It's just not quite bright enough, at least in terms of what I'm looking for. Let me know if you enjoy Ralph Lauren Safari, if you've tried it. And if you haven't, there's gonna be links down below. All right, it's time for a date. You're going out with a special someone, a significant other. First date, second date, third date, doesn't matter. You want to put forth a good impression. You want to look your best. You want to smell your best. You want to be approachable. This fragrance I'm choosing for the warm weather. I could have chosen some very boring, very predictable fragrances to fill this category, but you don't need me to do that. There's other videos talking about those fragrances, and you can go to your nearest department store fragrance counter and just try everything and buy whatever smells good. But if you're coming to this video, I feel like you're looking for a little bit more than that. So a little bit more depth, a little bit more substance. You might find that in Kenzo Homme EDP. Now, on the surface, and that is when you spray it and you smell it, it is kind of a lot. There's not a whole lot going on. It's a fairly simple scent profile. It's just a dark, woody, smoky, aquatic with this suede leather feel. Maybe a slight fruitiness that I don't know where that comes from. Kind of soapy clean, but mostly kind of seaweedy, dark, aquatic, salty, fresh, and woody. So it might be a little bit too brooding for some people, but I think when sprayed in the right quantities, and I'm not spraying this more than 3 times for a date, there's something about it that it smells clean, it smells fresh, but it's kind of sexy because it's not your generic shower gel scent. There's a little bit more of a dark depth to it, and I think it's going to be easy to appreciate for that reason. So for a date, I'm choosing this. This is going to work great on a summer night. It is quite a powerful scent, so you don't need much of it. Again, that's also why I'm saying 3 sprays. It's already kind of a weird scent profile, so spraying more of it's going to make it weirder, and it's already strong, so spraying more of it's going to make it overwhelming. Don't overwhelm your dates, guys. Be considerate. And if you want to smell interesting in the summertime, this is one to check out. Kenzo Homme EDP. Our cooler weather option is way less complicated. We don't need to do a lot of caveats for this one. This is L'Homme Ideal from Guerlain, the Eau de Toilette. This could also work on a summer night as well, but for differentiation purposes, I'm putting it in the cooler weather. It is kind of fall cozy vibes, just in the scent profile itself. Now, this is such a beautiful scent. It is so easy to overlook this collection, especially the OG. Don't overlook the OG. The packaging is going to look a little different, but as far as I know, the scent is still what it is. This is based around bitter almond, which blended with tonka bean kind of gives it almost this cherry, creamy, nutty feel with some leather, with some woods. This is both fresh and kind of sweet and rich at the same time, but it's mostly a lighter scent profile. It is an eau de toilette, so it has a transparency to it. Just makes it really easy to get next to. It's not overwhelming. It's going to sit on the skin anywhere in that 5 to 8 hour range. It's not going to project like crazy. At least for the first couple hours, it will be quite noticeable, but after that, it's going to sit close. So you don't need much of this. Again, especially on a date, you guys don't need to spray much. I feel like many of you already know that, but if you don't already know that, please know that now. This is a lovely scent profile, smells very unique. It set the course for this entire collection. No other collection really smells like this, and as far as I know, this doesn't smell like much that came before it. Very, very special fragrance. Let me know if you enjoy this one. If you appreciate L'Homme Ideal, Eau de Toilette is going to be great for a date night in the cooler weather. All right, let's talk about our formal. Oh, this stuff is so good. Formal fragrance for the warm weather. This is when you want to dress to impress. You're dressed to the nines, day or night, doesn't matter, but you are wearing a suit or anything that you consider formal. You look good. You got nice shoes on, you got a nice belt on, maybe a nice watch. I would go with Hermes Eau Intense Vetiver. This is a fragrance I'm still kind of getting to know. It's relatively new to my collection. I've been curious about it for some time, and it takes the original Hermes, which is wonderful, which could have easily filled this spot, gives it a little bit more specificity. The vetiver here is deeper, richer, and kind of more intense in a way per the name. It is earthy, woody, but still kind of fresh and citrusy, spicy, that has a lot of the same elements as the original, but that vetiver note is truly pronounced here. It smells a little bit more natural to me than the EDT. I think it's maybe toned down on the ISO-y super vibes that kind of fill out the inner workings of the scent. It doesn't really have that vibe. This is mostly wood dominant at the base. It's kind of bottom heavy, but it's still a little bit fresh. It is just going to smell distinctive. It's going to smell like something that will get people's attention. Maybe not in a way that's going to make them ask about what you're wearing or tell you you smell great, but it will complement your entire presence, and it might even make you a little bit more memorable. Let me know if you enjoy this one. I think it's perfect for this scenario. I'd love to know what you think. Terre Hermes Eau Intense Vetiver. And finally, our cooler weather formal fragrance. This stuff is wonderful. This could be signature scent worthy almost any time of the year, but maybe not my first choice in the heat because it's a little bit sweeter and richer, but it smells so distinguished. You smell like a gentleman. Maybe you have a mustache, but you don't need a mustache. But the name is Moustache from Rochas. This stuff blew me away. I overlooked it for years. Finally got around to it and realized I cannot believe you can pay so little for this beautiful fragrance, so well composed. It is primarily this patchouli ambery scent. There's a damp earthiness to it. There is this sweet, warm, resinous feel, but there's also kind of this cleanliness to it, almost this clean, slightly soapy feel. Not overtly, it doesn't smell like soap, it doesn't smell like there's a strong lavender note in here, but there's something about it that is not just dark. There's something about it that is kind of clean smelling. So it's not the heaviest scent, it's so perfectly balanced. It smells round, it smells rich, but not too overwhelming. It's something that will stay on your skin for most of the day and night, and it's something that just smells really good, but not your average scent. And I cannot believe how little you can pay on the discount websites to get a bottle of this stuff. So if you haven't tried this yet and you're looking for quality in a fragrance that you can wear in more formal upscale occasions, especially in the cooler weather, this is one you must put on your list. Let me know if you already enjoy it. Let other people know in the comments as well. Moustache from Rochas. Once again, every fragrance I mentioned will be down in the description. Also try to find some samples too for at least most of these fragrances if you're looking to try them before you get the full bottles. So once again, let me know what you think down in the comments, and thank you so much for tuning in. Peace. I'll see you in the next one.